All right, we will call to order Safety and Public Works Committee meeting, August 15th, 2022, 7:15 PM in council chambers. We have 4 items tonight. First of which is an event, street closure application, Warrior Homecoming 5K. And Jesse Dean, take it away.
Good evening, gentlemen. So we have 3 event applications for you. The first one we'll go through is the 2022 Brainerd Homecoming 5K. It's scheduled for September 17th. Very typical of the normal routes that they've done in the past with a little bit of an adjustment. So they'll be going through the Buffalo Hills and Boom Lake trails, Laurel Street, College Drive. Well, I guess they probably won't be on College, they'll go underneath, and then looping around the trail by the high school. They provided 2 route maps with this one. However, due to construction, they'll likely use the route that does not include South 5th and the area by the Mississippi Landing Trailhead Park. So they'll have a little bit of a abbreviated route this time, but it'll still be a 5K for them. Typically, like other years, they'll use the restrooms at the park for the event, school and PA system for sound, volunteer runners with safety apparel, with guiding around the streets, temp markers and markings along the route. Unlike previous years, they won't have to do any street closures with this one, but they'll still be monitoring the route as normal. And then they'll coordinate with the police for the event as well.
So essentially, if the park is finished and ready in time, staff can direct them to use or not use based on that other alternate route?
That is
Is that what
correct.
we're proposing?
If everything's completed and usable, they'll readjust their route to something more similar to previous years. But most likely, the construction will not be complete by then.
Okay.
No questions, ready with a motion?
Go ahead.
I'll move to approve the attached event application with the conditions, conditions that they complete the park use form and removal of any signs, markings, and route signs after the event.
To which I second.
Motion and second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Second item is another event street closure application. Touch a Truck. And is this James Kramvik on this? Or is this Jesse Dean?
I'll introduce it. It's
Okay, go ahead.
typically an annual event. September 24th is when this one's scheduled from 10 till noon downtown. So kind of typical closure for this one between Laurel between South 6th and South 8th, and then South 7th from Front to Maple Streets will be closed. James has mentioned that he'll reach out to the downtown businesses, and then we just ask that they'll reach out to our street department about a week ahead of time to drop off the street closure materials.
Yep. This is just a 2-hour event. Street closure, I assume, is what, an hour before and after that? 10 a.m. to noon? Yep. Okay. Any questions, guys?
I have no questions.
Got a motion?
I do. A motion to approve the event and street closure application for the Touch a Truck community event, following the staff recommendations that the applicant requests traffic control for street closure 1 week prior to the event.
Second.
Motion and second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Third event street closure application is for the Baton Memorial March. Go ahead, Mr. Dean.
Thank you, council members. This is the last event application for the evening. This one's for, like you mentioned, the Baton Memorial Death March held on September 10th coming up. This will be between 6 a.m. and 4 p.m. So they have this one scheduled as a 5K or half marathon, and they'll use a typical route that they have in the past. I think this is like a 3-year hiatus, so they're just getting back to it. I don't recall seeing one in the last couple of years, so it's nice to see them get back to this one. The only concern that I had with them, and I did clarify this with their staff, is that the short section along Business 371, they will be utilizing the off-street trail that is not on the street, so they should be unaffected by the road closure that's over there. So.
Okay. Any other questions, guys?
No, sir.
Move to approve, recommend approval of the event street closure for this application, the 21st Baton Memorial Death March, with the conditions that they provide sufficient notice to the adjacent businesses and coordinate with appropriate emergency staff.
I second.
Motion and second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Final item for SPW tonight is change order number 2 for improvement 19-02 Cuyuna Lakes State Trail NP Center segment. And again, Mr. Dean, if you want to walk us through that one.
Yes, sir. So this one is for some subgrade corrections that were done in 2 different spots on the trail. A big section over on the east end and then another one, shorter section nearby one of the buildings. This is essentially labor and equipment to remove a small section or a couple small sections of subgrade material and replace it with some borrow material to give a little bit more structure. There was some soft spots encountered when Mr. Higgins had dug that out in Knife River, brought that to our attention. So Paul and Scott with SEH evaluated it and determined that we needed to replace a little bit of material so that this change order represents those corrections.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
I'll just comment that I took the opportunity to talk with Mr. Dean earlier today. Wanted to make sure that the city and the city engineer felt good with the recommendations that were put forward and the findings by SEH, and it was a good conversation. He filled me in. Really highlighting that note on the financial impact here, reiterating that this is indeed an unforeseen condition, and wasn't anything out of the ordinary, really. So,
Yeah. These things do happen. Just for clarification, we had a change order based on the same stuff in a different area, correct? And maybe this is a better question for Mr. Sandy, but I believe this is the same issue, just in a different area for the most part. Okay. And this one is a small bit of chunk of change compared to the other one. Mr. Erickson?
Just a comment to point out, in the recommendation here, it says this is a reimbursable expense too. So I think that's important for anyone viewing or the public to know.
Reimbursed with the DNR funds.
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Mayor?
I just had one question about the project in general. Driving along 13th, I noticed that as that comes down towards the end on the south end of the property, there is no connection to that currently. Is that something that's planned, and what kind of time frame are you looking at with that?
On South 13th?
On the south end, so as it comes along 13th Avenue, is it 13th Avenue? 13th Street, I forget how you guys do things in Southeast. 13th Street. Yeah, evidently. Along 13th Street, the very southern end of that, the trail comes down and then just kind of abruptly stops.
Yep, so DeChantel's working on that segment of trail now. Kind of in that neighborhood. They're working in Laurel and 12th Street areas
So
right
when
now.
that connection is made across the street is when we'll look at that? Okay,
Correct.
perfect.
Yep.
All right. Anybody got a motion?
a motion to approve the change order number 2 for the improvement 19-02 CLT NP Center segment. And again, as noted in the financial impacts section, this is an unforeseen condition on the project, often in the case with older unremediated industrial sites. And as mentioned again, this is a reimbursable expense. So I so motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes, and we are adjourned.